Hello and welcome to the Glamptuary Podcast, where we talk about the experiential outdoor hospitality industry and glamping. I'm your host, Bobby Marston, and welcome to Season 2, everybody. Now we're going to do things a little bit differently on Season 2 than we did on Season 1. Last season we had an amazing collection of guests that ranged from travel bloggers to Glamptuary owners to various professional organizations that help support and grow the experiential outdoor hospitality industry. We learned a ton, and each of those episodes had a unique guest. In Season 2, we're only going to follow 2 guests. That's right, only 2. Now, what makes that interesting? What makes that interesting is that both of these guests are opening up Glamptuarys for the very first time. That's right, on the Glamptuary Podcast, we're going to pull the curtain back, and we're going to see how the sausage is made. Now, there's some similarities with these guests and a couple differences. Some of the similarities are, they're both doing this for the very first time in their lives. They're both doing this in the state of Wisconsin. Both of these individuals worked extensively in advertising and marketing before deciding to diversify and become Glamptuary owners. And both of these individuals believe in sustainable practices and eco-friendly tourism. Now, a couple of the differences. One's a man, one's a woman. One's self-funding this. One won an Airbnb contest and is being funded through that. One's on a farm. One is on private lakeside property. We can't wait to dive in. We can't wait to introduce you to these two. So without further ado, let's meet our first guest. Her name is Etienne White, and the name of her property is Heart Song Farm. Hey, Etienne.
Hi.
Thanks so much for joining us. I know you have a million things going on, so we very much appreciate your time, and we are excited to learn more about you, what you have going on at this farm, what this Airbnb contest is all about. So let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to a farm in Wisconsin.
Sure. So I'm a professional. I used to work in advertising agencies and then marketing on the client side. And back in 2010, I decided to make to step into working only at the nexus of marketing and sustainability. And when I did that, I decided that I didn't want to just pontificate or preach on stages about sustainability, but I actually wanted to practice it too. So I actually bought my first farm, which is not the farm I'm on right now. It was in central Minnesota back in 2010. And that's when I started learning about farming. And the farm that I'm on right now is my second farm. And I knew when I was getting divorced that I wanted to keep farming. I kind of had the bug for it. And so I'm on a smaller farm now and running it as a solo female farmer.
That's awesome. Where is the farm located?
I'm actually in rural southwest Wisconsin.
And what motivated you to find that? Was it just kind of something you found online, or were you actually looking in Wisconsin?
Yeah, I actually moved to this area specifically knowing that this was where I wanted to be. This was where I wanted to raise my children. It's an area called the Driftless, and it actually touches the lower part of Wisconsin, a little bit into Minnesota, and a little bit into Iowa too. And they call it the Vermont of the Midwest. It's full of gorgeous undulating hills and great countryside. And actually, because it's not flat like the rest of the Midwest, it doesn't attract big ag where you want 20,000 acres of corn and soybeans, for example. You're going to have to navigate all these little hills and creeks and all kinds of things. And so it's attracted a certain kind of farmer, small scale, often regenerative, organic, back to the land homesteaders. And so with that, there's a fantastic community too. And actually, unbeknownst to me until I started doing homework in this area, has a thriving community of female farmers, which was another draw for me, knowing I'd be coming in as a solo female farmer, knowing that I'd have a community of support around me too. So yeah, and it looks a lot like England. So it made me not miss home quite so much.
Well, it sounds gorgeous. And I think what's amazing about this is you're going to start sharing this with people. Mm-hmm. And you're going to start doing this because of an Airbnb contest. So tell us about what that is, how you found that, and how you won it.
Yeah, well, I always knew, especially this farm in particular, when I found it, it's sort of magical and very serene. It has an effect on people. As soon as they come down the driveway, they comment on it. So I always knew somewhere in the back of my mind and the front of my heart that I wanted to share it with other people. I just didn't know the how or the when, really. And when I first got the farm, recently divorced, raising my children, I really just wanted to kind of bed us down and get the farm established too. And then by sheer sort of hazard, if you will, last year I happened to see online that Airbnb had a competition, and it was a contest that you could enter. And as a result of winning that contest, I am actually now in the process of being able to build something where I can offer other people come and stay at the farm as a sort of agritourism experience, get out in nature, learn a little about the farming if they're interested in it, and really use it as a time to decompress from probably their stressful city lives. So yeah, through winning that contest, I guess the time and the place, the when and the what got answered for me.
Well, that's fantastic. And it's so timely because we were trying to figure out at Glamptuary how we could better help educate viewers and listeners who are wondering, how could I start a Glamptuary? So this is absolutely perfect timing that you are literally in the middle of starting a Glamptuary offering on your farm. So I thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about it, about opening up and sharing these things and kind of letting us peek behind the curtain and see how the sausage is made, if you will.
Yeah, well, no, thank you for helping me sort of document it and journal it. And one of the things I found out almost immediately is that there's no clear way to do this, but there might be some principles you could extrapolate from it. So if any of the principles that we extrapolate along the way help others, then I'm excited, for that.
That's awesome. And I believe the timeline is we're shooting for an August opening, correct?
That's right, August 1st. Yep.
All right. Well, that means you probably have a lot to do. So I'm going to let you go. We'll revisit this again in the following episodes, but thank you so much, and we cannot wait to learn more.
Lovely. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, and now that you've met Etienne, it is time to meet our second guest on season 2. His name is Jesse Roesler, and the name of his property is Open Air Outpost. Hello, Jesse. Good to see you again.
Hey, good to see you.
So a little different premise. We were talking about a show that you were directing and producing for Discovery Plus. Now we're going to talk about a show that you're going to put on for people on your property with your tiny home.
Yeah, not disconnected. Making of one of those shows is definitely part of the inspiration for making this place. So.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you taking the time and pulling the curtain back, showing how the sausage is made, if you will. I think it's going to be hopefully really helpful for people out there that are wondering, how this might come to fruition for them. I think there's a lot of learnings that can be had, and I appreciate your time and effort. I know obviously you got a lot going on, a lot of plates spinning, so we'll keep this brief. And I think, first off, tell us more about you. Tell us more about your backgrounds, what led you to this property in Wisconsin.
Absolutely. Well, we'll go all the way back. I am a country boy. I grew up outside of a small town out in the country near north of Wausau, Wisconsin, and had that type of upbringing where I could just roam. There were no worries. I would, get lost in the field, behind our house and build forts out of sticks and whatever. And I think it developed a strong imagination. And I'm really thankful for my parents that I had that upbringing. And then I went to college in Minneapolis, fell in love with, the city blew my mind as it does, went to journalism school, started making documentaries, lived in the city for a good 20 years and built a career doing documentary film and television and alongside commercial and corporate video work. And then we bought a property again back in rural Wisconsin. My wife also grew up in rural Wisconsin near Frederick. So we're two rural Wisconsin kids at heart, had kids of our own and knew we wanted that same life for them at a young age to be able to just go play free. And so we knew we wanted to get back in the country, didn't know when we could do it. Pandemic showed us we could do it then. We bought the property actually that we had a year or two before the pandemic and was just going there and renting it out to friends. But pandemic hit, we started living there full time and fell in love. We're like, this is what we remember. This is what we want for our kids. We can do our work here. When I travel, I have to go to an international airport anyway. The writing, the editing, everything else can happen absolutely anywhere. So we realized we could do it, and we did, and we loved it, and found some land nearby, 20 acres on a non-motorized lake, and knew that we wanted to share that experience with people, especially a lot of our friends, living in the city, that were like, oh, I'd love to get out for a few days and breathe the fresh air and do all the things that you can do in a place like this, where you just, your blood pressure drops as you're leaving the city, right? And it's a different way of life. So that's kind of how we got back out here. And then finding this property, we knew it would be an amazing place to give people the type of experience of like what we love so much about being out here.
That's awesome. And where exactly in Wisconsin is it located?
Yeah, so this property is Island Lake, Wisconsin, which is, a tiny little unincorporated town. It's, people may know Eau Claire. We're about 45 minutes north of Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Great. And so I can kind of see where you're sitting. I think you're sitting inside your tiny home, correct?
Yeah, this is our tiny cabin. We call it the Aldo Tiny Cabin. This is made actually not far from here, 25 miles from here, a company called Escape out of Rice Lake, Wisconsin, that just has these beautifully designed, 4-season units that are on wheels, in fact, but, they're really, I think most people use them stationary because they are, built so well. And we've got it, we brought water and septic, so it's plumbed. There's a full bathroom, full kitchen. So it is, like a tiny home.
And this is the offering. This is the very beginning, I think, of the property offering that you're going to extend to people this summer.
Yeah, that's right. This is the first dwelling on site here on the 18 acres. And we plan to add more, probably a mix of more rustic, maybe another in the realm of this at some point. But this is the first place you can come and stay is right here.
Well, we're excited to dive in. As I said earlier, I think there's a lot of learnings that are going to come out of this for me and for viewers, and things that you've already went through to get to this point. So we appreciate you kind of going back in time in the next episode. And in that next episode, I think we'll get to know a little bit more about your why, because I always find that very interesting. Origin story is like, what's the real motivator behind why someone would want to share their property? So we're excited to talk with you about that on the next episode.
Sounds great.
And there you have it. The stage is set. Now, this is not a competition by any means. Both Jesse and Etienne are at very different parts in their process, pursuing very different directions, but they both have the same goal in mind: to open up a Glamptuary and share their passions with the world. We can't thank them enough for opening up their minds, opening up their hearts, and letting us take this journey with them. Moving forward, Etienne will have her own line of episodes, and Jesse will have his own line of episodes, and we'll release those weekly. To subscribe, simply go to www.glamptuary.com, and you can follow along there. Also, if you'd like to listen on one of your favorite platforms like Apple, Stitcher, or Pandora, we're also on there. Either way, we just hope you follow along. We can't wait to dive into this journey, and we'll see you on the next episode.